Horizon 4 is possibly the most important game they've released this whole generation. I've had a rocky past with Forza. I saw Motorsport 4, I saw Horizon 1 with these big extravagant story for Horizon, and Forza Motorsport 4, everyone saying, oh, it's the best thing ever. Well, I jumped into Forza Motorsport 5, which I wasn't very impressed. But obviously you let that one slide because it is the first game, and you know, that's the first game of the generation. It's about pretty graphics and not many features. Maybe they'll add them in the next game. Horizon 2 comes around. Horizon 2, pretty sweet. Much less features than Horizon 1. It felt like they were really pushing out, and I was like, okay, first game on the platform, let's carry on. Motorsport 6 came out. Left confused as to what I just purchased. Horizon 3. It was a little bit better than Horizon 2. Forza Motorsport 7. Are you honestly still releasing the same regurgitation? So this now brings us to Horizon 4, as I mentioned, it being super important to the series. And there seems to have been a shift in what Forza is doing. You can like Forza, that's completely fine. I enjoyed Horizon 2 because it was my first personal Horizon game that I owned and played, not at just a friend's house, for example. And I really enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it a massive amount compared to a lot of other games, but I really enjoyed it, especially for the time. There weren't that many racing games that I wanted to go, oh my goodness, the best game ever. But since then, it seems like there was less and less effort put into the games. Almost like there was, as said, less overall push on these games, less content delivery, less cars even in some instances. During Microsoft's press conference, they were talking a lot about how they are now buying studios, they acquired certain studios, and they were really pushing for first-party games because they have been slacking hard when it comes to games recently. With Sony doing so well with exclusives, they're getting a little bit cocky in my opinion. Microsoft is trying to do what Sony did last generation. You remember the 360 was king, and then all of a sudden the PS3 right at the end, boom, Last of Us, Uncharted, crazy big games, and they were fantastic. Xbox has been slacking hard. My favorite game this generation on the Xbox One, Sea of Thieves, which, I mean, it's a very basic game. It almost seems like they're finally going, you know what, we realized that we've been lacking on games, let's actually push it. Let's go for it and show them what we can do. And that's what I'm feeling with Forza Motorsport 7 and Horizon 4, especially Horizon 4. They're mentioning a whole bunch of features in where the game is going to get post-game support. Now, you previously in Forza, you'd buy a season pass and you'd get all the DLC cars, and at the end of the season pass, that was the end of it. It looks like this game will be supported for a little bit longer than that, and not just with car content. They're going to each week release 2 new cars, I think, with the season pass or whatever. I don't know the exact specifics, but as long as you need a season pass, every week you will get 2 new cars, I believe. That's the way they're doing it. And every time the season changes, so I'm not just talking about season 1 week, we know that already, how that works already. Seasons, different week, seasons, whatever. Well, how they're actually going to do it is one winter, say 4 weeks in the future compared to the last winter, there's going to be different events. There's going to be different Forza-thons. They're really pushing for the game to be fresh every time you jump into it. Even if you jumped in 4 weeks ago and the season was the same season as it is now, there's going to be more for you to do. And the only way they can pull this off is by actually upkeeping that and properly diving in and making proper content for this game post-launch like they have never done before. They're not talking about expansions. Sure, there may be expansions, but they're talking about actually making their things to do post-launch, which is something Forza has hardly ever done. None of Turn 10 is working on the next Forza game. So they say. Obviously, in reality, they're working on the next game. They're working on the fact that this is going to be the base. Obviously, most games use the last game as a tool to make the next, obviously. But apparently, they're focused on having these updates. They're working on updates now for Motorsport 7, more so than they are the actual next game, which is a pretty interesting development. Now, sure, most Forza games are made in 2 years. If you know that, that's how it works. Well, you get a Horizon game, we get a Motorsport game. We get a Horizon, meaning they get 2 years per studio each. The fact they're not working on the next Motorsport game says to me and confirms to me that either, yes, it takes hardly any time whatsoever for them to actually make a Motorsport game, or 2, the game did that badly that they think the next one's going to do even worse if they release it next year, because no one liked the game. I mean, sure, okay, fair, some people did. But for the most part, Forza Motorsport 7 had less features than 6. Less features than 4 is what the main point is. 4 was the pinnacle, I didn't play it and I can see that. 7 had less features and so many issues that people really didn't like, and they're finally going, let's actually fix these problems. Because these problems need to be addressed. We can't just keep ignoring them. And what it seems to me is like that they've wanted to do this all along. Forza, I feel, wanted to advance, wanted to change. You see Horizon 4 adding the seasons, adding the online, adding the 72 play. This is the most creative Horizon they've made so far. Horizon stories, all this kind of stuff. So I say that. I don't know. We need to see how it is when it comes out. Horizon 1 may still be the king. But what it seems like is Microsoft overall, from a top standpoint, is going, you know what, you need to support your games, you need to do this, you need to do that, and they're finally going, thank you Microsoft, thank you, let us work on our games. This is what we've been asking for a long time. We don't want to churn out another game when the last game we released really isn't up to scratch. So what does this mean? Does this mean that there's going to be no Motorsport 8 next year? Possibly. It could possibly be a thing, which is interesting because usually a Forza releases every single year as predicted. But it could also just mean that Forza is made very quickly and we may still get a Motorsport 8 next year with all the fixed features from 7, meaning less features because they've had less time for whatever. Or there is a new studio, because remember they said there was going to be a 3rd Forza game? What? Maybe that's making a gap for the 3rd Forza game. Maybe the 3rd Forza game will be next year, and we'll see what that is, which will be really interesting. What do you think it would be if it is that? That would be the nice option, but at the same time, I would be very happy if they decided, you know what, we just don't want to release games every year anymore. Every 2 years we'll release a Forza game. Every 2 years we'll get Horizon. Every 2 years after that, Motorsport. That would be fantastic. We don't need 3 or 4 Motorsport games on one platform when each one has less features than the game you had on 360. So Corey made an article on this. If you want to go check it out on the Knobheads website, there's a link down below in the description. Let me know your thoughts on this. I'm super excited, but at the same time, this is make or break for me. If this doesn't prove me wrong that the Forza developers are kind of lazy and that kind of thing in this, and I completely get that. I know, and people are gonna be like, oh, he's gonna complain about the progression. I don't think I'm gonna complain about progression this time, as I feel like Forza has kind of stated it being a casual focused game, and that when it comes to progression in other games, like if the Crew, for example, all of a sudden decided to go, oh yeah, we're gonna get rid of progression, you buy everything from the beginning, that's where I'm gonna have a problem, not Forza, because Forza has stated it's, you know, it's planted its flagpole and said, you're going to get a Ferrari after 2 minutes of playing this game. I'm still going to moan about it, but it's less of an issue for me now. But yeah, be sure to smash like if you want to see more of this, subscribe if you are new, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.